Aniplex and Crunchyroll new anime production joint venture Hayate announced. Hayate is planned to develop and produce premium anime content for Crunchyroll, with staff from Crunchyroll and Aniplex. High-profile animation studios like A1 Pictures, Solo Leveling, and Cloverworks' Bocchi the Rock are part of Aniplex. This is the article that it's based on, what, Manga Mogura, posted about, and the article pretty much goes in depth of what the overall plan is, and I'm just gonna say it. I've been talking about this stuff for years. It's already been kind of the beginning of the end. This is more or less that, the progression of that. This is just another long laundry list of things that has just been ongoing when it comes to Sony and Crunchyroll, Funimation, Right Stuff, Aniplex, Kadokawa. It's just another long checklist. And I do want to clarify a few things for those that are unaware. Aniplex has already been owned by Sony for a very long time. Like, it's been a thing that's been underneath their umbrella, but it's been a while. And basically, this is not really shocking, so to speak, that Sony would utilize Aniplex in such a way to be able to have a joint venture for anime with Crunchyroll. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, Crunchyroll is their dominant force for anime being presented into the West, and obviously Aniplex is a big producer that has a lot of animation studios under the umbrella. For instance, like A1 Pictures, it's currently working on Solo Leveling. It makes a lot of sense why they would want to do a joint venture together, kind of have like a merger of some kind with like some form of company to be able to work on projects to be able to give to Crunchyroll. It all makes sense from a company standpoint, and it's surprising it honestly took this long till 2025 for something like this to happen. But I guess one of the big sparking things that's really spurred this on, I think, is probably the success of Solo Leveling, and let's get into that. Solo Leveling has been extremely successful, and for those that are unaware, A1 Pictures, that is owned by Aniplex, which is owned by Sony, has been doing very well. It has recently reached the highest rated series on the platform of Crunchyroll, and I think looking at it from statistic-wise, the bigwigs at top are obviously going to see that, and they're like, okay, we need more things like Solo Leveling. We need series that are to the same degree, same quality, same presentation as Solo Leveling. And this gets into what I think, or why this is happening in the first place, and that is this right here. Solo Leveling thrives. 20 more webtoon anime are in the works overseas. This is a rumor and stuff that's been like spreading for the last week or so, and it's gaining a lot more credibility because with the success of Solo Leveling, and obviously like I said, Crunchyroll clearly sees this, Sony sees this, Aniplex sees this, A1 Picture sees it, anyone involved in the, the production definitely is aware of the success, and I think that this announcement more or less is kind of a precursor to what this announcement is about. I'm assuming the joint venture between Aniplex and Crunchyroll is to produce more webtoon-like content, webtoon to anime adaptations, which is relatively an interesting prospect. I would like to see, like, some really underrated series, like maybe Omniscient Reader and stuff. I mean, we know it's getting an anime, but I would like to see, like, Omniscient Reader get a good anime to the equivalent of Solo Leveling. I would like to see Hardcore Leveling Warrior, maybe Jungle Juice. There's a lot of series that I would love to see adapted with a really solid anime adaptation, and it really could be right for blowing up and being absolutely insane, like really reaching untold levels of success if given enough time to cook. But getting into the main prospect of what this overall means and what I've been talking about for years, Aniplex and Crunchyroll working together is more or less a symptom of what has been happening with Sony's monopoly. They have been gaining this monopoly, spreading their tendrils within the anime manga community and light novel community for years at this point. They have an iron grip. They do. Which was why there was a lot of fear about the Kadokawa buy that we had just a few months back. And as we all know, it's only a matter of time until Crunchyroll, or Sony technically, goes back in and buys even more of Kadokawa. It will eventually happen. It might not happen this year, might not even happen next year, but it will happen. Now that they got a large percentage of Kadokawa, it's only a matter of time until they purchase it. Which gets into the next big thing, getting into the whole scope of the issue. Crunchyroll and Sony has been positioning themselves into a way to where they're the only way you can consume anime. For instance, if you want to legally support anime, you can only watch it through Crunchyroll. And I think that what this merger does, it's going to effectively kill off HIDIVE. And if you don't believe me, let me show an example here. Basically, we used to see HIDIVE actually working with Aniplex. You can even see a statement here on the wiki page that, in January 2019, HIDIVE got some of the shows from, Aniplex, for instance, like, The Promised Neverland, licensing and stuff like that. There's really no reason for Aniplex to give shows to their competition. I mean, why would they? They make more money. They stand to gain more money, technically, if they force everybody to go to Crunchyroll and watch it through there and just killing off their competition, which is what has slowly been happening to poor HIDIVE. I've talked about this extensively, but HIDIVE is one of the only really fundamental competitions to Crunchyroll. I mean, we could argue maybe Netflix or argue Amazon, Disney, but they're not really directly trying to focus on anime. And so, if there is any platform that is directly trying to be competition to them, it's HIDIVE. And the fact that this merger is effectively going to stop anything that's produced by Aniplex, probably from even being involved with HIDIVE, is pretty freaking sad. Because it's like, why would they offer them shows when they could just offer them Crunchyroll and make more money from it? But anyways, with that being said, this is just like the progression of the monopoly that has been forming for a while. Once again, this is not something that's relatively shocking. This, like, joint venture, once again, both companies owned by Sony. But it was just, here it is. It's finally here at last, and this is going to be probably the last nail in the coffin for potentially a lot of competition against Crunchyroll. Like, nobody's really going to be standing up to this because a lot of good shows, most good shows, are produced by Aniplex. Like, that is just the harsh truth. There is some competition like Toho. Toho can compete to a degree, but if there is rumors currently about that maybe Toho might eventually be bought by Sony. If that indeed does happen, it's over. Like, it's actually over. Like, there is no way to beat Sony at that point. Like, for instance, if they grab Toho, which is another producer, into the same level as Aniplex, which is a direct competition to Aniplex, GG. It's over. Like, they have complete and total control over the anime industry. And that doesn't even get into the manga industry. But, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. One thing I do want to say is that the concerns that I think a lot of people have started to wake up and realize is that Sony might be producing, or in this case, Aniplex might be producing a lot of good shows, like Solo Leveling. And it's been very good. Let's not kid ourselves, okay? But once again, we gotta think about just the rampant censorship. There's been a lot of advocates, like, advocation for just straight-up censorship of, like, anime, manga, light novels, visual novels, games, you get the point. And, obviously, if Crunchyroll/Sony is completely in charge, even from the very source, aka the studios working on the shows, it means that a lot of the main content will start to get censored. It's a fear. It is a big fear. You could say that different branches of Sony and stuff like that, different management, but at the end of the day, it's all under one huge company. And their ideology matters more than anything else. So that is the concern. I have a huge concern about that, and it has been something that has shown time and time again to be a concern, and there's reason enough to worry. But there is, at this point in time, nothing we relatively can do. I mean, people could say just pirate, but as I've talked about in the past, pirating is not necessarily going to be the way to get out of this. I mean, if Sony fully gets control of the source of anime, like the beginning, like the studios controls them and stuff, you cannot just, like, circumvent that and pirate it. Like, you might not support them by paying, but you're still going to be watching the content that Sony produces through their other companies, the sub-companies underneath them. So, even pirating will not be effective anymore, because it's like, one of the reasons why people like to pirate, besides obviously saving money or not paying, was that they wanted proper translations, or watch the original source of an anime that isn't censored, so to speak. But if the original source is owned by Sony, and it's being censored literally upon its inception, upon being born, you can't escape it, even with piracy. So that is the fear. Anyways, I will leave it at that. I want to talk about this. I saw a few people, talking about the subject, adding me to it. It's like, hey, Chibi, did you hear about the Aniplex Crunchyroll thing going on? And, like I said, I'm not shocked. It was something that was eventually going to happen. I'm surprised it took this long, but here we are. I love you guys. Be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.